Let's have a look at business news. Stephen Carroll, our business editor, is joining me here on set. You're going to start with a look at the markets, aren't you, Stephen? Of course, those investors keeping a very, very close eye on that election in Georgia.
Yeah, we're seeing that mainly play out on the currency markets at the moment. We've seen the dollar weakening against several global currencies as investors try to weigh up, first of all, the probability of who's going to win that last seat that we're now waiting for, but also what it means for investors if Democrats do manage to take control of the Senate. The dollar hitting an almost 6-year low against the Swiss franc in the past few minutes. It's down to against the New Zealand and Australian dollar, trading today as well. So what investors essentially are weighing up here is what a Democrat victory might mean. On one hand, it could mean higher taxes and more regulation, but on the other, it could lead to more stimulus for the American economy, which is of course something the markets do like. So plenty for investors to weigh up as we're waiting for those final results there. On the stock markets in Asia, a mixed picture in trading today. More fears of US-China tensions weighing on investors there. Shares down in Tokyo after the government there announced a new state of emergency due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Now, meanwhile, the price of the digital currency Bitcoin is once again rising, isn't it?
As is the volume of trading in the cryptocurrency. That hit a record high too. On Monday of this week, Bitcoin, worth more than 55 billion euros, changed hands on online exchanges. The price of Bitcoin has been rising for a few months now, sparked by its increasing recognition on major payment platforms like PayPal. Bitcoin hit a record high over the weekend. It's risen to over $35,000 again in trading today, according to the website CoinDesk. It's up over 13% in trading today. Now, we've seen swings of around 20% up and down in recent days. Remember, this is a speculative asset. It's driven by what value investors think it has, which means there's plenty of potential for ups and downs. We have been talking about this for years now. It's not going to stop. But it is interesting to see the level that Bitcoin is sort of arriving at now and see how long it lasts.
Up and down all over the time. Now, in the US, Donald Trump has lashed out at Chinese technology companies again.
The outgoing US president moving to ban transactions with Chinese payment apps, including the hugely popular Alipay and WeChat. This, the latest in a series of executive orders that are targeting China in the dying days of Donald Trump's administration. The order says the apps threaten the national security and economy of the United States. Donald Trump's previous attempts to sanction WeChat were blocked by the courts in the US.
Now, we've got a new snapshot of the global economy. It's not painting a very hopeful picture, though, is it?
Yeah, the World Bank says that global GDP will grow by just 4% this year. That's after shrinking by 4.3% last year. This forecast is showing a slower rebound than the organisation had previously forecast. In fact, the World Bank is expecting growth to be lower for the whole decade as a result of the pandemic. Charlie James has the story.
COVID vaccinations are the key to a global economic recovery. That's the message from the World Bank, which warned Tuesday continued vaccine delays could cut the 2021 growth rate in half. The global financial institution downgraded its outlook for the global economy to 4%, 0.2 lower than previously forecast.
If things go well and we have widespread vaccine deployment in advanced economies, major emerging market developed economies, by the end of 2021, I think that these growth forecasts are going to be reasonably fair.
So far, though, the majority of countries' vaccination programs are sluggish. Europe is especially struggling to overcome a slow start. Tuesday, France's health minister promised an exponential increase.
Désormais, amplifier, accélérer et simplifier notre stratégie vaccinale.
The World Bank's report said the near term remains highly uncertain. Predicting a continued rise in COVID infections could limit the year's global expansion to just 1.6%. And even in the best of cases, it says the world faces a slow and challenging recovery.
Saudi Arabia has pledged to cut oil production even further in the coming months. The kingdom plans to cut output by 1 million barrels a day after a meeting of the OPEC Plus group of oil-producing nations. That's despite plans by Russia to increase its production. The alliance of 23 nations is trying to keep oil supplies lower to maintain prices, which had plummeted last year due to the pandemic. The news sent oil prices higher, the international benchmark Brent crude hitting its highest level since last March.
Now then, while 2020 was a difficult year for many, of course, the boss of Apple got a big boost to his pay.
The iPhone maker was one of those companies that did do well last year. Of course, more people investing in technology as they're working or studying from home. So the company's internal financial targets were met, meaning big bonuses for executives. And for Tim Cook, that meant his cash bonus rose by 40% to $10.7 million. His pay packet had actually fallen by more than a third in the previous year, though, and that was when Apple's earnings missed expectations. In total for 2020, he was paid just under $15 million. That's on top of shares worth over $280 million that had vested over the course of the year for Tim Cook.
Gobsmacked. Meanwhile, new figures on executive pay in the UK have produced some pretty stark comparisons.
Yes, the chief executives of the UK's biggest companies will have made more by the end of today than the typical British worker will make for the whole year. And that's according to the latest study from the think tank, the High Pay Institute. Top CEOs now earn around 120 times the pay of a median worker. The typical company boss of a FTSE 100 listed company earned just under €4 million, or the equivalent of, in 2019, while median pay for full-time workers in the UK is just under the equivalent of €35,000.
Well, you've done a great job of depressing us all, Stephen.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for all of that. Stephen Carroll, our business editor.